What was the most shocking thing you heard the quiet kid say? Nothing. Let me explain. I took a class with Seung-Hui Cho, the Virginia Tech shooter, one semester before the shooting, when he killed 32 people and wounded 17 others with 2 semi-automatic pistols. The class was called Contemporary Horror. It was a one-time elective offered by my favorite professor. We read horror novels and watched horror films and discussed the craft of creating scary stories, but also how they reflected or represented their era's fears. It was a great class. There were only about 15 students, and it was discussion heavy. Cho was one of them. I honestly never noticed him, even in that small class, until halfway into the semester. He wasn't quiet, he was silent. So on the day we all finally noticed him, our professor asked him something directly, and Cho just stared at him. I can't remember the question, but the nature of it meant silence was potentially an acceptable and funny response. So we all laughed, except Cho. He just kept staring at our professor. Our laughter awkwardly died, and after a few moments of uncomfortable silence, our professor just said, "Okay," and moved on. It was so strange, but I forgot about that weird moment until after his rampage. That professor later told me that Cho's papers had been disturbing, but the nature of our course meant the envelope was being pushed a bit, and it had never been bad enough to suggest he do what he did. That professor was a good man, and he admitted he struggled with not blaming himself on some level for one, not identifying how severe Cho's mental health problems were, and two, for the graphic and terrible nature of some of what we watched in that class which may have inspired Cho. He knew that was bullshit, but a part of him couldn't help but feel some blame. It was terribly sad. Cho was set on doing that long before he took that class. I read somewhere the theory that the people that perpetrate these kinds of things feel like they have zero control in their lives. They become obsessed with this act because they know that in that moment they will be in control, even if for only a few moments. I was at Juma when all of that happened, and most of my friends from high school went to Tech University. Of maybe 10 of my friends on campus that day, all were basically nearby but lucky enough to have avoided the building he was in. One was late, and when he showed up the door had already been locked by Cho. Another was a few floors below where he shot his girlfriend. I remember trying to call them when the first word got out, and all the phone lines were completely overwhelmed. Shit was scary. Life tip: don't call your friends if they're potentially in an area where a shooting is occurring. You might give away their hiding spot. I was best friends with the quiet kid in middle school. It wasn't so much shocking as the stupidest thing I've heard him say. He got this 1,000-yard stare all of a sudden and just said, "I can't remember what color my dog is." In high school, there was this really quiet girl named Grace. She was a pleasant person, but wouldn't say anything more than hi or sorry unless you asked her something. Even then, she'd appear terrified. It was at prom, and I was in the parking lot of the venue we had prom at. I lost the contact and had to run to my car to grab my glasses. In the parking lot, Grace was smiling and walking from her car. She looked at me, laughed, and said, "Ryan, her prom date just fingered the fuck out of me." I still laugh about it to this day. Playing rugby, hooker fails completely at line out. Someone shouts jokingly, "Does anyone know any good hookers to replace Patrick?" Quietest guy on the team. Never hear him say anything. "Maybe Patrick's mom can help." Proceed to fall on floor. So this one kid, who barely ever said 2 words, one day, asked the teacher for the time. It was at some after-school thing and there was no clock. The teacher says the classic, "Time for you to get a watch," which for some reason was funny to everyone else. The quiet kid doesn't laugh. He looks the teacher dead in the eyes, and once everyone quieted down, he says, "So are you gonna tell me the fucking time, or what?" We were in like 7th grade. One of my students hardly said a word all year until a couple weeks ago. I was trying to get a group of talkative ones under control and she had enough. She yells out, "Shut the fuck up! I am trying to work, you fucking assholes!" Awkward silence followed because I didn't know how to handle the normally studious and quiet one losing it. I was like this in middle school. Not exactly quiet, but I never really socialized except with people right beside me in the form of asking for a pencil. One day the classroom douche happened to be more douche-y than I could stand for, and I stood up out of my seat and yelled at him and sat back down. The entire class fell silent, but he never got that douche why again. An annoying friend. Dylan, quiet kid, you're so fucking stupid sometimes. Dylan, at least I don't suck massive dick all the time. This was when I was in my first semester of college 2 years ago. There was this girl who never said a word. The teacher would ask her questions, she would just not say a word. I can honestly never remember her even making a noise. One day the teacher got upset. He felt like she was ignoring him and that she was being disrespectful, so he, like an asshole, said, "Did no one teach you how to speak?" She stood up, walked up to the whiteboard, grabbed his marker and wrote, "I am mute, you foolish fucker." Apparently no one ever told the teacher that she had a disability. But she was one badass motherfucker for taking his marker out of his hand and writing that LOL. In junior high in the mid-80s, the game, Trivial Pursuit, was all the rage. We played it in math class one day and this kid, Gary, who never said anything at all, totally spanked everyone else by answering every single sports-related trivia question. He got a lot of attention for it, and I believe he walked a little taller after that day. I don't think I ever heard him say anything else, but I did see him sitting on the bleachers at a few sports events. At school, having just shown me the scope for supposedly his, sniper rifle. If the fire alarm ever goes off and you can't find me, don't use the doors as an exit. Well, he was nice enough to warn you. Better to be his friend and his target practice. What if we killed everyone with cancer to stop it from spreading? You finally decide to speak and that is what you go with. There was one girl in my school who I've only ever heard speak once the entire time I knew her. It was during lunch, and 2 black kids got into a fight. I heard her say, under her breath, "Fucking niggers." We were chillin' at a bar in Prague and someone rolled up some hash oil and tobacco and passed it around. The quiet kid hit it and got even quieter. 20 minutes later some aggressive, growling black metal comes on and out of nowhere he yells, "Kill your parents!" We fucking lost it. He was pretty happy with himself. I think quiet kid just told you why he was quiet. They thought I was joking. I must never smoke anything again. The quiet kid from my grade stood up one day, grabbed a broom, stood on a chair and began trying to swat bees that got inside. One bee landed on the window where quiet kid proceeded to yell, "Die bee die," and then swatted and shattered the window. He screeched when it happened and then sat back down. Never heard him speak again. While literally this question came at a perfect time. I was just thinking about this and it was by far in sophomore year of high school. This kid was so odd that honestly no one ever really noticed him. But one day he's sitting across from me at a table, and he sees this one girl in really tight shorts and goes, "God damn, I could have my head up her ass for months." It was pretty shocking. There was this one quiet girl in my class, and she would never say anything. This was around 3rd or 4th grade, but I would always try and get her to talk. I would be nice. Like when she had no paper in her binder, I'd take notice and give her some before she can ask. When she was searching for a pencil in her bag, I gave her an extra one I had. It was like small little acts. Picking up her pencil when she dropped it, etc. Then at lunch this kid was picking on me. I was short, weak, and very emotional back then. She came out of nowhere and told the guy, "I'll give you 3 seconds to walk away." I was stunned because those were the first words I've ever heard her say. The guy slapped me, and she did a straight kick to his balls after that. I was honored and shocked she ever said anything. She never said anything after that, but I did say thanks. I'm happy I'm not black because I would be loud and annoying. She got suspended for 2 days, lol. One day I cut in line at lunch in front of the quiet shy kid. He's all like, "Hey." I'm all like, "What are you gonna do about it?" He's all like, "I'm gonna rape your daughter." I'm all like, "I don't have a daughter." He's all like, "I can wait." Don't cut in lines. A lesson learned well that day. As an asshole kid, I had a similar experience. Grabbed a pencil off his desk. "Give that back." "Or what?" "I'll rape your sister." "I don't have a sister." "Then I guess I'll have to rape your mother first." I stopped being an asshole to him. What was the most shocking thing you heard the quiet kid say? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.